Okay, hi everyone. I'm Afshana Afrin. I'm an ACCA affiliate and a mentor at Bean ACCA. So we will be solving section B question, Ardent Company, where it's from FR pre-June 2026 mock exam. So let's simply read the question. How many performance obligations are included in contract 1 in accordance with IFRS 15? So they're basically asking us how many performance obligations are there. And just by reading this statement, you should remember the criteria for assessing whether the performance obligation is distinct or not. Right. See, a good or service, it has a distinct performance obligation only if the customer can benefit from it on its own and it's separately identifiable from other identifiable promises in the contract. Right. So the customer should be able to benefit from its own and it's separately identifiable. So those are the basic conditions to identify if the performance obligation is distinct or not. So let's read the question. Ardent Company, whose reporting year end is 31st December 20x5, the company designs, manufactures, and installs specialized climate control systems for commercial buildings, where revenue is recognized over time. The company applies input method to recognize revenue. Okay, this might help us in future question. So in contract number 1 on 1st December 20x5, which is at the last month of the year, the company has entered into a contract to design, manufacture, and install a highly customized system for a contract for a contract price of 8 million. And the reporting date work on the contract has not been yet begun. So where you are supposed to tell me if the design, manufacture, and installation, is it one, is it two, or is it three, four performance distinct performance obligation, or is it just one performance obligation? Right. So when you simply go through this question, you might just check the third option. That yes, since there are three different items over here, the answer is a three, which is supply, installation, and testing. However, answer is option number one. The company is giving the customer a customized system, which means that if Ardent company is not giving them the service, the customer cannot benefit from the item on its own, right? And the item is not separately identifiable because once designing is done, only then manufacturing will happen and only then installation will happen. So all these steps are highly interconnected and they're dependent on each other. So in this scenario, there is just one performance obligation, that is the delivery of the integrated climate control system. Next, we have which of the following combinations indicates that revenue is satisfied over time. So over here, simply answer is option number A. The asset has no alternative use and the entity has an enforceable right to receive payment for performance completed till date. Right. Second option, legal title transfers only on completion of construction. So over here, you will recognize revenue only when the construction is finishing and when the legal title is transferred. So it's not over time. It's just at a point in time. The customer physically possesses the asset. Again, when you give the physical possession, at that time, you're supposed to recognize the revenue. The customer has accepted the completed asset. Over there also, when the completion of the asset happens, the customer accepts it, then you recognize the revenue at a point in time, right? Next, we have what amount of revenue should be recognized in the year ended 31st December 20x5 in respect of contract number 2. So over here, we are supposed to figure out how much revenue should be recognized. We know that the performance obligation, okay, contract number 2, let's read it. On 1st October, which is before the year end, yeah, like 9 months into the year, the company entered into a contract with the customer to install a major climate control system. The contract price is 5 million, right? We need the contract price. So contract price is $5 million, and out of which total expected contract cost is $4 million by December 20x5, which means that by the end of the year, the company has already incurred 1.6 million. 1.6 million is cost incurred, right? So by this, we should be able to calculate the revenue. We know that the company follows input method, and for input method, we have a formula, which is the cost incurred divided by the total expected cost, right? So you have to divide 1.6 million divided by 4 million. You will get the progress, the stage of completion, which is 40%. So the revenue recognized will simply be the contract price, which is 5 million, into the stage of completion, which is 40%. So simply the revenue which you will recognize in the financial statement will be 2 million. Right. So here the key was that you figure out that input method is used. You find out the stage of completion, how much completion is already done, and you multiply that figure with the revenue recognized. So your answer is option number B. Next is, how should Ardent Company account for the 120,000 cost incurred to obtain the contract? So in addition, Ardent Company has incurred 120,000 bid cost to obtain the contract. These costs would have not incurred if the contract had not been won. So, as per IFRS 15, if there's any cost that is directly attributable to the contract, any cost that is expected to be realized over the term of the contract, any cost that is expected to be recovered later on after winning the contract, right? Any cost which the company is incurring just because of accepting a contract, that is to be capitalized, right? Any directly attributable cost or any cost that you are expecting to recover in future, any cost that is arising directly because of accepting a contract, you're supposed to capitalize it. So 120,000 will be capitalized as an intangible asset, right? So let's look for the answer over here. You recognize as intangible asset and amortize systematically. So option number B is your answer. Next, we have a question on deferred income, which is IS 20. So over here, we are supposed to find out what is the deferred income liability recognized in the final statement of financial position at 31st December 20x5. Right. So on 1st April 20x5, the company has received a grant of 1.5 million from a local government body, which towards the purchase of a machine on 1st April. The grant will be repayable if the entity sells the asset within 4 years. So you have to repay the grant if you sell the asset within 4 years, and the company has no intention of selling the asset. Right. The useful life is of 5 years, and the company has decided to use deferred income approach. Okay, so the grant should be released over the useful life of the asset and not over the 4 years period, right? So useful life, so the grant of 1.5 million will be released over divide by 5, right? So 1.5 million is the grant, total grant received, divide by 5 years, because we know that the company has no intention of selling the asset. So we will recognize the grant over 5 years. So per year, your income will be 0.3 million. Right. And at the end of 31 December, we need the figure on 31 December 20x5, right? So we know that we received the grant on 1st April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. So 0.3 million is the grant income per year. We need 9 by 12. We need amount for 9 months, and that figure will go as deferred income, right? So 0.225 million will be the amount which should be recognized for the current year 20x5. Okay. However, the question is asking the deferred income liability. Right. We already know that deferred income is 1.5 million, out of which 0.225 million will be released as income in your SOPL. Right. So you will subtract 0.225 million. So your deferred income liability will be 1.275 million. Okay, you are supposed to write this in full form. So 1,275, 123. So your deferred income liability will be 1.275 million. Right. I hope this video was informative and I helped you to clear your doubt. And please stay tuned for section C videos also. Thank you.